Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, wherever you're listening from, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Resume Whisperer. I'm your host, JosefStetter, and today, just as we've had in the past few weeks, we have another brilliant expert sharing their insights not only on leadership, but how to stand out, and more importantly, how to make sure that there's a work-life balance where you're not work to the level that you cause yourself disease or death. So again, part of the focus for the theme of these shows is to get you to understand that beyond having a good resume and a great interview, there's this thing called corporate culture. And although many companies preach it, it's very important to recognize what works and what doesn't work. And I'm bringing in different experts from different industries to give you insights to show you patterns of, go the extra mile, be passionate about what you do, and make a difference. So I'm very excited to bring to the show Deb Crowe, who is an international best-selling author of, the book is not working, called Heart-Centric Leadership. I apologize for that. And she's going to talk about a little bit about her experiences and what brought her to this. So let's bring Deb Crowe on, please. Welcome and good evening.
Thank you, Joseph. Happy to be here with you.
So why don't we start with kind of what inspired you to write the Heart-Centric Leadership Playbook and a little bit about your career to get you to where you are right now.
Sure. So I have had that book sitting in my heart for about 30 years. And I think among the many opportunities that I think COVID presented to us as global citizens, I finally took the time to write the book. And I think when I published it, which was November of last year, 2023, I think it came at the right time because I think the world is finally ready for heart-centered leadership. I was always told that there was no place in business acumen for heart-centered leadership, but I kept on believing that there was and being a heart-centered leader. My background is in neuroscience. I was a neurotrauma case manager for 23 years. And I got a call one day to take on 5 short-term disability claims for executives that were off work from their organization due to stress. I had 3 VPs and 2 CEOs. And from the date I got the call, Joseph, to 10 months later, they all passed away of cancer. So I always say to people when I'm asked this question, I didn't move into the coaching world. The coaching world found me. And I'm happy to say I've been in this space for 15 years, promoting heart-centered leadership and helping executives at all levels be healthy and vital. And the subtitle of the book, How to Master the Art of Heart in Their Life and Leadership by Living Healthy and Vital, because there's no point climbing, that proverbial ladder of success only to lose your health when you get to the top.
Okay, so I think this is something that's interesting because I talk a lot about corporate culture. Can you expand a little bit on what heart-centered leadership is and what is it that you do or coach as part of your business and as part of your consulting? Because I think this is a term that most people kind of go, okay, heart, somebody that cares, but how does it manifest or how does it look for you?
So, heart-centered leadership, my definition, is honoring your connection with people. So, not getting caught up on any kind of systematic views or semantics or worrying about extrinsic labels. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what our title is at work or if we're an entrepreneur or what our roles and responsibilities are, we have to build trust and rapport. And the sector doesn't matter because at the end of the day, Joseph, we're all in the people business. So, a heart centered leader is someone who honors their connection with everyone in the organization, not just if we're talking about the CEO, not just their executive team, not their board of directors, their stakeholders, the company at large, and everybody that's a direct touch point to them or who they can influence. And their behavior as a heart-centered leader is honoring the connection, which means they're inspiring leaders to be better leaders. They're attentive listeners. They're empathetic. They're compassionate. They allow the ability to model self-care, and they believe in failing forward because they know how to convert it to a learning opportunity. And when a culture knows that there's room to fail, that's where we breed innovation, progression, and growth. And from that is a healthy, vital culture.
That's awesome. And you talked about a few things in terms of behavior and modeling the behavior. Now, I know in speaking to you that you also do an assessment. So tell us a little bit about the assessment that you do and how does that help a company make better decisions in terms of what happens internally and how things happen.
Well, I've been an entrepreneur for 34 years, and I know there's a lot of assessments out there. And I truly believe that there's not one assessment that is good for a whole company. I chose to get certified as an executive and leadership coach through the Augmandino Leadership. And the reason being was I loved their assessment. It's called the Habit Finder. And what it's actually measuring is behavior, and specifically using science, deductive science. We hone in on their deductive reasoning. So we're able to show the leader where they think intrinsically, people, where they think extrinsically, maybe where their habits of thinking get caught up on material things, and where maybe their impatience or their inability to listen or see another person's point of view, the systemic. And it measures it. And the reason people like it and organizations like it is because we have a baseline. So we extract from the data in 6 different areas, which is life and leadership together. So we are actually assessing the whole person. So everything from their life, everything from their leadership journey is measured in this particular assessment, and then we do a deep dive into all 6 of the different areas. And because of the baseline, we see growth quite quickly. And it's been one that I've used now for 15 years. People around the world love it. Different sectors love it. And a company can actually have a whole division do this assessment. And then what we do is we analyze the data and we come back with what we call a team DNA report. So if we're looking at culture, if we're engaged in a change management project, this is another useful tool to really dig down and see what's happening, not only in the vertical alignment of leadership, but horizontal leadership.
That's awesome. And I love that because, again, I'm all about building corporate culture where employees are engaged. And because they're engaged and they feel appreciated, accepted, acknowledged, they're more productive as a whole. Can you share a specific success story of like a turnaround or kind of an improvement in company performance? You don't have to tell us the name of the company, but just kind of specific steps that you took that kind of you saw from day one to, let's say, 3 months, 6 months later, a year later, what an impact that made, please.
Absolutely. I think the one that I'll use is I was asked to come in as part of a change management project. But what was really happening was 2 insurance companies had just gone through a merger and acquisition. So I use the term blending of 2 work families. And there were a lot of different systems and protocols and procedures. And one work family knew it very well, and the other one didn't know where it fit in. So we did the Habit Finder assessment on all 390 of the employees. And we did cohorts based on their division and their teams. And we did kind of a group debrief, and then we did singular debriefs, and then we did the team DNA as a whole. And we had the executive leadership team tell us some of the metrics that they were looking at now that the merger and acquisition was done. And we got to be part of the strategic planning. So we knew what the expectations were 3, 6, 9 to 12 months the first year, but also looking out to second year, third year, 4-year, 5-year. And what we were able to do, because we did the Habit Finder assessment with everyone, is the questions that we were asked, we were able to answer from the data. And we realized that some people were going to be better served in another department doing something different because some of the roles and responsibilities and job descriptions were different from insurance company A that now merged with insurance company B. So it gave us a lot of depth and insight, but we had a lot of one-on-one debriefing alongside of the cohort group debriefing. And that time was so valuable and so priceless. And the trust and rapport that was built during that process allowed us to do everything 18 months ahead of schedule. And we landed up implementing a train the trainer model. And so by the time we left, it was a healthy, vital culture that now was going to sustain itself. So we delivered ahead of schedule, within budget. It was a big undertaking, but I think the way we went about it was heart-centered and mindful. And we really, really listened to how everyone was feeling, not thinking. And we tapped into that and really practiced and role played being in the observer's chair so that people could understand why people were thinking and feeling the way they were. Because merging of 2 companies is a big undertaking, and we have to consider how people are feeling. And it's like any other kind of thing in our life. It's an uproar, it's an upset, and we need to have time to let the dust settle and not overwhelm the culture, the employees, and remember that there were a lot of feelings that went along with that. So we tapped into that, and it was really successful. It's probably one of the most enjoyable projects I worked on to date.
And again, thank you for that. And I love that because I think part of my experience as kind of both a recruiter and a corporate culturist is that a lot of times, if I look at the top 10 reasons why somebody leaves a job, salary is actually number 7.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of clear communication, the lack of, there's a vision and a mission, but it's kind of there, but nobody really understands what that means internally and how to apply it internally. And I think for a lot of people that are looking to their leadership, they're like, what am I supposed to do here? Because as you mentioned, when two companies merge, if one company, let's say, and their call center has a standard of, say the customer's name at least 3 times. I want you to smile every time you're speaking so that there's a certain level of energy. And another one's like, okay, hi, this is whatever company. There's definitely a gap there. And as someone who switched careers, I understand that completely. So, and I think that's very important because I think job descriptions in part are also very cut and paste kind of models and cookie cutter. And a lot of times people read a job description and go, I'm perfect for this job. And they don't really know what the job is other than this is some lingo that was used, or these are some expressions, like we need someone who's very innovative. I'm very innovative, but what does that mean? And how does innovative apply? And not only that, but is there an opportunity for employees to share the innovation? One of my favorite TV shows is Undercover Boss. And I always love at the end of the show when the executives go, oh my God, I should speak to the people that work here. I might get some insights on, what they're going through because, and I think you and I are in the same idea that, yes, every company wants to improve year over year. But if you're only looking at an Excel spreadsheet and you're making decisions from an Excel spreadsheet from the quote unquote ivory tower, you don't understand the day-to-day routine. So I look at some of these things, I'm like in a warehouse where, they need to package this many boxes per minute, per hour, whatever it is. And I'm going, they're humans. They need to go to the bathroom. They need to, there's such a important value to that water cooler conversation where people can talk about television and music and just life. Because it allows them to refocus and recenter on that. So obviously, heart-centric leadership is similar to corporate culture, relatively new in the sense of kind of, big business understanding that. So how do you kind of show potential clients the value that they're getting by making small shifts that over time become very big shifts, but therefore create a very big difference?
When we start with the assessment, it's shared with obviously the person that I've assessed through a debrief. And then I maintain contact with their direct supervisor, whoever it may be, or maybe the person from HR that brought me in, or the chief operating officer. It depends. It's varied. Most people see a difference within the first 4 weeks because the first area we work on is connection with people, because we have to have that, Joseph, first and foremost. And once we master that, all the other things fall into play, like discipline and structure to be able to fulfill the role and responsibility of whatever your job may be in that company. But if you don't have the connection, you're not going to be hitting any of the KPIs or any of the metrics. So that equation, people over profit, is a fraction that I love, that I feel should be inverted to that, not the profit over people. When you have the connection with people, the profit will always come.
Yeah. And sorry. There we are. Sorry. So, I agree with you completely. And I think that this is something that, connecting to people, it's, we've become a society that's so quick to point fingers at everybody else and blame everybody else. It just seems there's less and less people that are willing to take ownership and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I remember, and it's funny that you said it because I maybe never understood the term heart-centric leadership, but I'm a heart-centric person. And I've always been service people first and take care of them. When I started salsa dancing, every night I would see people coming, hey, I'm a regular here, hook me up, let me in for free. I always went on like, how are you doing? Are you okay? Let me buy you some coffee, especially when it was really cold night. Let me buy you some donuts or chocolate. And because I took 10 minutes of my time to actually speak to the security, I never asked for free. But if I came with like a big group because it was a birthday party or something, they were so appreciative that I took the time earlier that they made sure that we were taken care of, where we could skip the line and kind of, come in VIP without paying. But it wasn't like hook me up. It was like, let me do it for you first, and on the business side for me, and I think this is where many people need to understand the importance of this. I was asked to build a call center for a company that owns approximately 70 private colleges across Canada, right? Their big brand is CDI College, that's known in the East Coast kind of thing. And the expectation was that my team would build or would generate an extra about $300,000 for the year under restrictions that we call leads that are more than 4 months old and more than 50 miles or 75 kilometers from the nearest campus. And I built such a culture of celebrating my team that in less than 6 months, we did $2.25 million. And here's the interesting part. So we were doing so well, like just shattering every expectation, that the VP in my meeting with him was like, okay, I've challenged your team to do $150,000 for the week. And when we had our morning meeting and, I acknowledged all the great stuff that they did the previous week, I told them this is a challenge for the week. I said, if as a team we hit it, you guys will get a big surprise on Friday. By Wednesday at 2:20 in the afternoon, we were $205,000, right? So I told all of my team, Friday, don't bring lunch. It's on me. By Friday, we had done 300 and something change $1,000. And I bought my entire team VIP tickets to go see a movie and gave them a $30 gift certificate to buy whatever they want in food. And I said, if you guys are sharing, you guys keep the gift certificates for yourselves. And I said, since we are an outbound call center, in case any of your leads call back, I will stay back and I'll close the deals for you. Now, my VP found out about this and he called me. He's like, did you just send your entire team to the movies during work? I'm like, yep. He's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, you asked for 150,000. We produced 300,000. He's like, yeah, but we could have had a few more hours of work. We could have had more sales. I looked at him and said, if they don't produce more the following week, you can go ahead and fire me. And when they came back on Monday, they were so excited about the movie they saw. And not only that, like the food, but I actually closed 12 deals for them while they were gone. And we produced over $400,000 that week. And my manager was like, but we could have had those, 3-4 hours of work. And I was like, you don't get it. You don't get the importance of taking care of people first, because when you do, when we're short on numbers, I didn't have to ask anybody overtime. They held each other accountable because they wanted that. And, I never had the coin for it. It was just me understanding when you take care of people, they will want to work harder for you. And I think that there's such a disconnect right now where now we're in an environment where we have, people working from remotely, we have hybrid, we have in office, and there's a massive disconnect on how do I engage with the people that are remote and what are some strategies that can be done to make them feel like they're part of the team. And, it doesn't have to be big things. You don't need to do Google money in terms of culture. There's little things like send them office merchandise and it's like, hey, you've done a great work here. Here's a hat, here's a pen, here's some shirts or whatever, and it's amazing to me how much people kind of go dollar figures first versus theirs. So what would you say are kind of key things? I mean, obviously there's pattern behavioring, but what are key things that you look and say, this is what makes a great leader, or this is what, we can groom somebody? And what are some of the characteristics that you kind of recommend or use to help groom the right people into leadership?
Well, it's a good question because there's people that want to get groomed and get promoted. And then there's those emerging leaders that don't know they're emerging, and we call them the accidental leaders. They're usually an introvert and someone sees greatness in them. And I've had them say things to me like, Why are they promoting me? Why can't I go back to my lab, or why can't I go back to my data? Like, why do I have to look after all these people? And that's always a fun project. But some of the things that I witness is a really deep, attentive listener, so present to the point where not only are they hearing what the person's saying, they are tapped into the emotion behind the words. And I've witnessed that numerous times over the last 15 years. And I've seen people that were not good at it become good at it and then continue to hone it and sustain it as a skill. They're approachable. Like, they really do have an open door policy, and the safe space is always there. So you can say how you're feeling, what's going on, seek guidance, mentorship, and not be afraid to say, I'm struggling right now. I didn't hear everything you said to me about this task. I don't really know how to do this. But it also happens at the CEO level. And I know when most CEOs walk in to chat with a board of directors, they still have nerves. They still get butterflies. They still get nauseous. They still worry about what they say. So I always work on not having any kind of misperception. Because someone's at the top, it doesn't mean that they're still not growing and learning to be a better leader. Because when you stop learning, you become complacent, and your team picks up on that. And I hear the old adage, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's a complacent leader. And I always love leaders that if someone on their team went down a completely different rabbit hole with their thoughts, and there's one leader in particular that I love watching when he does this, and he'll look at that person and he'll say, please tell me more. That is brilliant. I didn't even think about that. Where are you going with this? And it just brings this cohesiveness and energy to a team, that the safe space is so big, and sometimes they land up going in a totally different direction with a project because somebody had the courage to speak up because they knew they could with this leader, because it was safe, and they're validated all the time. They're seen, they're heard, they're valued, and constantly validated. That to me is the epitome of a heart-centered leader.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. And I think that that's where innovation comes from. And so I want to kind of do a couple of things. First of all, give a shout out to Dr. Jocelyn Kerbick, who is the founder and producer of USA Global TV and Radio, because she actually teaches people how to be excellent listeners and attentive listeners and present listeners. So wanted to say that. But, it's funny because when, I remember early on when I got into recruiting, one of my clients used to say, as the CEO of the company, I should never be the smartest man in the room.
Right.
Right. And I think that you touched on a point here where a great CEO will know, okay, my ability is the vision,
Mm-hmm.
right? I hire a team around me to execute the strategy,
Yes.
and I give them the opportunity to shine where they shine.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, and I'm going to reference Undercover Boss, because when the executive comes in and kind of the executives are sitting there around the table, they're all like, oh yeah, we should do this. Oh yeah. And it just kind of seems like it's almost like an environment where those kind of, what is your idea, are few and far in between. And, there's a level where, as this world is changing and becoming more digital, you can have experts in YouTube, and you can have experts in Facebook, and you can have experts in email marketing, and you can have experts in video. And you know what? There's a benefit of using that, because you're also getting different approaches to create the same message or the same opportunity. And I think this is where more companies need to understand that someone, like you said, that might be an entry level position might have a brilliant idea, but
Yeah.
they've never been given the opportunity to say, you know what, this could make things better, or this is how people feel. And if you kind of gave us a break, here's what would happen. It's amazing to me when I've had conversations with CEOs and I say to them, do you have a personal assistant or an executive assistant? They go, yeah, I do. I said, have you ever rewarded them for a great job? They'll go, yeah, I usually give them a bonus. I said, okay, here's what I want you to do next time. Instead of giving them a bonus, I want you to kind of pay for them to go and pamper themselves in the spa. Give them their salary for the day, plus whatever the spa, which will probably cost you $300 to $500, depending on the spa and so forth. I guarantee you that when they come back to work the next day, they're going to be so refreshed and so excited that you actually cared about their well-being, that their productivity will be even higher, because as much as the money, when we're talking a few $1,000s, the money can always help and it can make a difference. I think this is where it's as you said, it's the heart-centric of, I care about you. You've done so much. You've worked so hard.
Yes.
Let me give you something that might be a luxury for you that you might not allow yourself to do because, it's not in the budget. You have kids, you have this, it's there. And it's amazing to me how many CEO goes, never thought about that. I talk to executives like, you can buy a really good coffee machine for $500 where you can make a latte and a cappuccino and an espresso and hot chocolate and whatever. But that $500, even though you have the people that love their Starbucks, the idea that it's free, the idea that it's available at any time, the idea that the company invested in a really good quality machine is what will create productivity. And it's unfortunately because it's not something that appears on the P&L reports that most executives look at. And so, this is where it is. So kind of when you kind of have these conversations with leaders, what are some of the things that you focus on in terms of being heart-centric, in terms of connecting to people? Because obviously when you have companies with like, let's say 400 people, like in the example that you used earlier of the merger and it's hard to connect with 400 people. Let's be honest, right? So what are some of the things that you teach or tell people these are things that need to be done? And we have a few.
I'm going to disagree with you. It's not hard to connect with 400 people if you're heart-centered. It doesn't have to be long, and it doesn't have to be all the time. If it can be intermittent and consistent, it can be done. And I talk about a great leader in my book, Mike Sievert, the CEO of T-Mobile. He is loved by every member of that company. And he makes time to impart in celebration of everything. So when some of the top leaders get taken, I think they did their trip to Hawaii in the fall of 2023. He was there and he came with his family. So it's that blending of our inner world and our outer world that is the beautiful juncture of connection of life and leadership. So leaders, they don't need to spend a great deal of time. It doesn't take long to say, hi, how's your day going? How are you feeling? What's new? How's your family? All the things that aren't about work. Excuse me. The example of the spa and the executive assistant, that just reiterates one of the most important heart-centered qualities, modeling self-care. If a leader doesn't model self-care or continues to work when he or she is sick, what message is that sending? There's no point coming into work when we're sick. We're not going to do our best work and we're going to be miserable doing it because we don't feel well. A good heart-centered leader will recognize that. And if it's something that's very urgent or has high priority, a heart-centered leader will be there to back the team, much like your example with your call center team. And you just have to set the precedent, but you also have to behave the example. So it's not just words, it's do the deeds that go with the words.
Couldn't agree more. And, it's funny because as you were saying that, I'm like, once I got married, I started doing especially pedicures. And I got to say, oh my God, having that soft skin, especially after winter, where you've been there, I was like, man, men have been missing out for years because there's been such a negative stigma of, oh my God, you there. And now I go, I'd say once a month, once a there, because again, I'm a guy, get rid of the dead skin and the rough skin and just the freshness of it.
Look what you're modeling for your children. It's a good thing.
Oh, my children are spoiled silly, but that's a whole other conversation. We got a few minutes left, Deb. I'd like you to kind of give a few words of your business and what you do, and why people or companies, organizations would benefit from working with you, and how people can reach you, just as a whole. Because again, you've clearly shared brilliant information, and I think information that is so important more than ever today, in the corporate world.
Yeah, I agree. I think post-COVID, it's really needed, and I still feel, Joseph, that we're really still navigating a lot of uncertainty on a global level. So, I'm an executive and leadership coach. So I work primarily with leaders. I'm going to say middle management, director level, right up to the C-suite level. And again, I have a habit-based assessment that I do for behavior. And then we also use it within cohorts and large groups, right up to massive divisions within organizations. I'm currently coaching in 6 countries. I basically wrote my book because I think it brought my coaching practice to life, and it's a playbook. So I use it to augment my coaching program. I use it to do even a deeper dive on the Habit Finder assessment. But again, it's a playbook. So not only am I telling you all the qualities and traits and strategies of heart-centered leadership, but I'm also giving you a call to action and then strategies to go ahead and use that playbook over and over again. And that's the beauty of creating a playbook.
Awesome, 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 and thank you. And again, for anybody, please reach out to Deb Crowe. She is phenomenal at what she does. And there's a level where, again, I want people to understand leadership is more than just I can execute a strategy or I have a vision, right? It's about doing by example, not just preaching it. And I think this is the biggest thing that people need to understand. If, as Deb just said, if the leaders are working 80 hours a week, they tend to expect that from their employees, and so they get frustrated when employee goes, I have little kids, I need to go home, I need to see them, and they're like, oh well, this person doesn't care, this person is not putting everything on the line for me, and so maybe they don't deserve to work here. And I think that's also creating a very big gap in turnover and in employee engagement, because we have 5 generations working together that have different needs, different communication styles. And if we don't take the time to kind of go, okay, my baby boomers want face-to-face communication. My millennials want me to send them a text or an email that's short and to the point, but they need the pat on the back. They need the acknowledgement, where a baby boomer or a Gen Xer doesn't necessarily need the pat on the back all the time because they've done it for so long. It's just they get the satisfaction knowing that the results. And so I want people to understand, if you do what's always been done, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yes.
There's changes that need to be sent. It starts with you. When you care about your people, when you create a culture that celebrates people, you're destined to succeed, and you're destined to succeed way beyond your imagination, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Deb, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you. And
thank you for having me. I loved it. Always a great conversation with you, Joseph.
Thank you. And again, for listeners, please don't be shy. Reach out to Deborah for her insights, for her assessments, and maybe to implement the behavior strategies she talks about into your organization. Okay. And as always, thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a beautiful evening, a beautiful morning, and a beautiful afternoon, and be productive. Bye.
Women of the Caribbean and around the world, are you tired of the status quo? Tired of barely making ends meet? Tired of giving maximum effort for minimum results? Are you in need of change, a fresh start, a new outlook, a new perspective? It's time to break through. Join us along with women from around the world at the Empower Her Escape, a 5-day all-inclusive royal cruise to the Bahamas and Florida. Connect with world leaders and influencers and begin afresh your journey to more. Hear dynamic speakers with sessions on women in leadership, the importance of mentorship, how to start a business from the ground up, financial literacy, an integrated approach to wellness and wholeness, and so much more. Guest speakers include First Lady Anne-Marie Davis of the Bahamas, Her Royal Highness Katerina of Yugoslavia Lady de Silva, Her Royal Highness Queen Sekothali Mephena of South Africa, and Coach Max, Global Multi-Six-Figure Wealth Coach. Cruise packages include 2 nights at an all-exclusive resort, gratuities, taxes, and port fees, red carpet welcome and extravaganza, course materials, and a souvenir gift bag, flight not included. The Empower Her Escape cruise takes place on May 15th through the 19th, 2024, departing from the port of Palm Beach, Riviera Beach, Florida. Hosts for this life-changing event are Coach Cherish Hollingsworth of Florida and Coach Mercy Gilbert of the UK. For more information, visit our website at www.empowerherroyalescape.com or call us at 954-203-6608 or email us at cherishresiliencecoach@gmail.com. Connect, collaborate, celebrate at the Empower Her Escape Cruise.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the Secrets of Visual Impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance in Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.
Hello everyone, I'm Simon MacDonald. I live in the West Highlands of Scotland, a very beautiful part of the world. Seems a long way from the USA Global TV station. But remember, USA Global TV is worldwide. It's a fantastic platform. And every Wednesday, I come along here as part of the show of the United Kingdom News and Culture. And it's just like a family reunion each time. It's one of these amazing stations that has such a beautiful, friendly, and intelligent atmosphere as well. And we reach out to an audience in the most unimaginable places. And I came here, I don't know, must be over a year ago now. I was introduced by Dr. Philip Chan, and I met Ian Plum-Turner and Helena Chard, who are co-presenters on the show. And then Diane Floyd-Bem came along as well. And I mean, the five of us, Dr. Jacqueline, of course, who is our host and our mentor, has just made this show work so well. Tremendous people, lovely time we have, and we impart a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. Nothing's rehearsed. It's all done off the cuff, and it all just gels. And we get great feedback from people coming back and saying how they're enjoying the show. It's lovely to hear, and it's lovely to get that interaction from outside as well. And we're all listeners, and some of us are elevated listeners as well. So we enjoy every second of it, and we hope you do too.